Opinions. An opinion is a view or judgment formed about something not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. For example, in my opinion, cold pizza is disgusting, yet there are people out there that eat cold pizza and think it's delicious. So do I go around giving them hate for thinking differently than I do? How the fuck yeah I do, it should be against the law to eat cold pizza, the fuck is wrong with you people? No, but really, imagine how boring life would be if we all shared the same opinion. Do not get upset if one of your favorite Pokemon happen to be on this list. That being said, I would like to hear what you, the viewer, believe are the worst Pokemon. And for what reason? Let me know down in the comments below. Too long didn't listen version? I don't like these Pokemon, so if you disagree, too bad! Oh shit, fuck, wrong intro. Before we begin, there are two dishonorable mentions I'd like to get out the way. Firstly is Talonflame. If I'd made this video about a year ago, I promise you, Talonflame would be the #1 spot. Alright, here we are, #1 on our top 10 most annoying Pokemon list is Talonflame. I've got some good, I guess you'd say Ubers Pokemon, or Pokemon that can compete in Ubers, like this Talonflame here. I kinda just wanted to show off why I think Talonflame should be Ubers, honestly. This Pokemon is just annoying for anyone who has to face it, especially since a year ago, I refused to use any Pokemon on my team that stopped him in his tracks, such as Rotom W or Lando T, just because I didn't like them. Then I'd complain about how easily I got swept by him. But recently, I've tried him out for myself, and I just love how versatile he is. It sounds weird, but there are quite a few things you could run on him to catch your opponent off guard. So, for those expecting Talonflame to make the list, no, we cool now. Secondly, there is Pelipper. It's just ugly. I don't know, he's just the worst out of the bird Pokemon, and he doesn't even have a cool design to make up for it. The only use you'll ever have for him is to be a HM slave. But I don't hate him enough to make onto the list. Speaking of lists, I think it's about time that we got into it. Coming into the #10 spot, we have Unown. Who is this guy? I don't know. He's unknown. Haha. These things are just a waste of Pokedex slots. It has 28 forms, but is only capable of learning Hidden Power. This would be much cooler if Hidden Power was an exclusive move only Unown could learn. But nah, basically every Pokemon could learn this move, excluding a few that can't learn any TMs at all. And it's not like Unown has godly stats or anything, they're as good as a stage 1 Pokemon. I can't believe I wasted all those hours as a kid in Diamond and Pearl catching every single one of them. I thought that it would activate some sort of legendary event if I owned them all. I had a box in my PC dedicated to them. Actually, that isn't even a bad idea. Once the player catches every single form of Unown, a legendary appears somewhere. I don't fucking know, make them have some sort of use, Game Freak. So taking the #9 spot is Nigel Thornberry. Oh wait, Nigel Thornberry isn't a Pokemon, Aromatisse. 6th generation added the newest typing, Fairy, to the series, and rather than making a whole roster of Fairy Pokemon to add to the game, they went back and changed a few Pokemon's typing. Which, by the way, isn't a bad thing at all. The bad thing is, they only made 11 brand new Fairy type Pokemon, and Aromatisse and its pre-evolution Spritzy happen to be 2 of those. Personally, I love the Fairy typing, but this one is my least favorite by far. It's just so damn ugly, and it gets outclassed by fellow Fairy type Florges in almost every way. Generation 6 added a lot of cool new Pokemon, they really did. But just not this. Spritzy doesn't even look that bad actually. They had the potential to make it into something much cooler. And it's a wasted opportunity, and that makes me believe that Aromatisse is one of the worst Pokemon in the game. Feels like there's a recurring theme here with the first 3 Pokemon. Waste. Whether it be waste of space or waste of opportunity. Now, I assume that you assume Garbodor is going to be next on the list because I made use of the word waste. Well, no, although that would have been a sweet transition. #8 is, Phione? Phione? iPhone? What is this exactly? From my understanding, it is literally a baby Manaphy. That can't evolve into Manaphy. The only way to obtain this thing is by having your Manaphy breed with a Ditto. Which the only reason I'd ever see myself breeding my Manaphy to obtain Phione is to fill out my Pokedex. Thus, making Phione another wasted slot in the Pokedex. Its design isn't even unique, it's legitimately a worse Manaphy in every way, shape or form. Design wise, stat wise, move pool wise, Manaphy beats it in every single way. I just really want to know why they made it. Maybe this was the beta design of Manaphy and they liked it so much they just threw it into the game anyway? I know this may be cheating, but we have 3 Pokemon in the 7th slot, but they're so much alike, they may as well just be one Pokemon. Talking about the elemental monkeys, Simipour, Simisage, and Simisear. These guys bore me. They feel like bootlegged versions of the evolutions. The only reason why anyone used one is because you were given one for free depending on which star Pokemon you start off with, just to help you with the first gym. After you realize how bad this Pokemon is, you put it in the PC where it can rot for all eternity. I honestly believe everyone has their own pink Pokemon they hate. For me, it's Wigglytuff. This hatred towards this thing all originated from a Let's Play I did. It was in Pokemon Sacred Gold version, a hack of Pokemon Heart Gold made much harder, and of course, of all the people, Whitney is the one that owns this Wigglytuff. It got so much hacks on me that it just put a bad taste in my mouth about it forever. If you're an active viewer of mine, you may have already seen this, but it's too good to not show it again. If we can take it out with the next double kick, like if we get a crit or something, then I'll be very fucking happy. Like, come on Jolteon, pull through for me Jolteon. He doesn't pull through for me when I need him to. He's going for the Ice Beam, probably going to crit me, probably going to freeze me, because why the fuck not, right? Yeah, but there's the crit, and the freeze! Are you fucking serious right now? Oh my fucking god. Fuck Wigglytuff. Number 5 on my list, we have the bulky mess known as Walrein. Glacia was such a pain in the ass with this thing, it's not even funny. Especially if you hadn't done any grinding. You just walk in there with your level 40s and she'd hit you with all kinds of sheer colds. Not even just her. In Blaze Black 2, one of the sages from Team Plasma, Zinzolin, had a Walrein and it was probably one of the worst Pokemon I've ever had to face. From my memory, it would have the hail up from the Abomasnow you just defeated, it carried leftovers, and it had Ice Body, so double the healing. A new Blizzard, which never missed because it was in the hail, Toxic to get good residual damage, and Protect and Substitute for maximum stunning potential. It did so much damage while taking so many hits, whittling you down with the hail and toxic damage. And it's not even just those two, there are plenty of times where I battled Walrein in a Wi-Fi battle and it's just ruined me, because I never know what to expect from it. And I always overpredict against it just because I'm certain it'll pull some bullshit against me. I'm aware Walrein is cool, but for me personally, he's one of the worst Pokemon in the game. If you've ever done a Nuzlocke challenge, I'm sure you won't be surprised at this one. In the number 4 slot, we have Wobbuffet. These things are really rare to run into, but when you do, your life flashes before your eyes. If you're not super over leveled, you're most likely not going to one-shot this bulky son of a bitch. And it's not like you'll be prepared for this thing when you run into it. You could be switch training a Pokemon, then BAM! Wobbuffet. Its Shadow Tag ability stops you from switching out, and it's just a matter of predicting if it'll be Miracle or Counter, or even Destiny Bond that it uses. It is just a pain to get around and the bane of a lot of Nuzlockers' existence. Coming into the top 3, we have Ditto. Not gonna lie, when I was a kid, I used to be obsessed with this thing. That's actually how I learned what the word obsessed meant. My mindset was, if you catch a Ditto, you basically have every Pokemon in the game because it can transform into everything. I don't know, just the idea of that was super impressive to me. But here we are, 10 years later, and he's 3rd on my worst Pokemon list. Why? Why do I hate him? At first, I just outgrown him. The concept started to bore me and I realized that it didn't really have much value anywhere besides breeding. Then, the Pokemon community on social media picked on this cool new term called being a Ditto. Basically, if you copy someone, you're a Ditto, and that's frowned upon. I won't lie, about 2 years ago, I'd probably call people out on Dittoing my graphics, but the more and more that it happened, the less I started to care and realized that it was a compliment. They wouldn't have took inspiration, as I prefer calling it, if they didn't think what I did was awesome. So the idea of calling someone a Ditto because they basically complimented me is dumb. Coming into the final stretch now, 2nd on the list is Pangoro. I know what you're thinking. Oh Callum, you're just salty Game Freak had another dark fighting type and they made it better than Scrafty. Well, yeah, you're right, but... Now, I'm not saying Pangoro is actually better than Scrafty, they both have their own uses. What I'm mad at is that Pangoro has access to Gunk Shot via Move Tutor and Oras, which Game Freak could have done for Scrafty too. Scrafty is much more deserving. One of his Pokédex entries state that he can spit acidic liquid from his mouth, which, yeah, he does learn Sludge Bomb, but competitively, what does that do for him? Nothing. He's left to use Poison Jab. Gunk Shot also fits him better because the description of the move is, the user shoots filthy garbage at the target to attack. This may also poison the target. Filthy garbage? Scrafty appears to be based off of thugs, hoodlums, which usually would be known to hang around alleyways, what do you tend to find around alleyways? Trash. Garbage. Rubbish. Scraggy is actually found right outside of Castelia City too, which has an alleyway with trash. Close enough, right? The only reason I can see Pangoro worthy of learning this move is to help protect him against fairies, but you know who else needs protection against fairies? Scrafty. I've just never liked Pangoro ever since it was first announced to be Dark Fang type, and this just adds insult to injury. Finally, you made it to number 1. I'd like to thank you so much for watching this far, and please, remember that these are the opinions of an 18-year-old Pokemon fan. At number 1, we have Arceus. If you're a long-time viewer, you're probably already aware that I don't like this Pokemon. The concept of God Pokemon is cool and all, but they could have done a much better job. The main reason I don't like Arceus is because of his terrible design. It's just bad. It looks like a llama with the ring of a planet around it. You're making a God Pokemon here, Game Freak, and it looks more like a messenger. Before Arceus came out, Mew was always known as the first Pokemon, and then Arceus just comes out of nowhere and he's like, yeah lol, sorry, that was actually me. Kinda bullshit in my opinion. The other legendary Pokemon that people once considered the best, like Mewtwo and Rayquaza, have way better backstories than the Pokemon considered to be a god, which is quite sad really. Arceus is just boring and wasted potential. Even his movie was underwhelming and his voice was just annoying.
Human beings must be brought to justice!
To me, it feels like they just felt like they needed a god Pokemon thrown into the mix, so they rushed it. I hope one day they give him some sort of cool backstory so I can look past his terrible design, although I will admit, I am rather fond of the whole plate gimmick. And that's it for the video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed, and please, just remember, this is one man's opinion. I'm not saying this is fact and that if you disagree with me you're stupid. I'm open to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. Now while this was a pretty negative video, I will say one thing, I'm glad these Pokemon exist because it makes me appreciate my favorite Pokemon even more. Which, speaking of that, you can click the annotation on screen to see my top 10 favorite Pokemon. It's pretty long though, because I made that video before I started scripting. But be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.